Hello, everybody. Welcome. So exciting to see everyone here. It's really like, ad tech is crazy. I'm always blown away by how crazy ad tech is. And it shouldn't be that crazy because everybody needs advertising, so we should all be comfortable with that by now. But apparently there's lots of new stuff to find out about, and today's session is no exception. So thanks to the folks at BeInto, we're here to talk a little bit about the G economy, which is broadly speaking games, gamification, and we have some super awesome and amazing panelists who are going to talk about various aspects of this. And I just want to lay out a couple of ground rules for today's panel before we get started, which is after the quick introductions from everybody. The panelists already know all of this, so you're not. This is not news to them. But after today's panel gets started and the introductions, there will be no pitching of companies. Anytime any of the panelists pitch their company, I'll give them a big X, because the objective is to share honest feedback and input. I will also give them a big X buzzer if they bullshit. So no bullshitting and no company pitching after the intros. Isn't that good? It's so exciting. You never know what you're going to get on a panel, but I assure you today, this will be a low bullshit panel. So let's start off by doing a couple of intros. So I'm Gabe Zickerman. I'm the chairman of the Gamification Summit. I'm the author of 2 books on gamification, game-based marketing, and gamification by design, which came out last year, published by O'Reilly, and the upcoming author of 2 other books on the subject. I spend my time working with companies, big and small, organizations, governments, on applying gamification principles and techniques to engaging customers and employees. Go ahead.
Me?
Yeah, sure.
Hey guys, my name is Dean Otto. I'm the VP of Sales for Inforia. We operate a mobile and social platform that matches products to people through mobile and social. We think both those platforms are game changers, and we use the mobile piece as a distribution piece for companies and for retailers to get their products out in front of people. So we load up through an API a whole bunch of content. We then curate that content and distribute it out to a network of mobile applications, mobile websites, and communities. And then on the loyalty piece, that's sort of the distribution piece. On the loyalty piece, we utilize Facebook as a social platform for companies to give incentives and special offers to special customers. So
nicely done. Nicely done, Leo.
Hi, I'm Leo Gill from Lumi. I head up the media and entertainment part of Lumi, and basically what we do is offer a play-along platform for viewers of broadcasts to interact with the broadcast itself and share it with their friends and play along and have lots of fun. With our partnership with BeInto, you can earn points and reward and save money on retailers worldwide.
Awesome. So good. You guys are so good.
I get gonged.
Woohoo! And
No
then
extra.
last but not least, I want to invite up Antonio from BeInto, the CEO of BeInto, and he just give us just a couple of minutes on framing the market and what some of the important topics are that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
3 minutes, actually, not 2, 3.
3 minutes.
3 frames.
Okay. Well, hi all. Thanks for coming. So, BeInto is a startup, 1 year old, very young, that is working on gamification with a particular focus on mobile. Why are we doing that and what we're doing? So basically, it has been shown, as you can see in these infographics, in particular on the right bottom, that users start to be interested in getting real benefits from their virtual activities and from their engagement in mobile apps. So this is a study done by organizations such as Saatchi & Saatchi, famous media agency, and it shows clearly that more than 50% of users, for example, would love to get discounts and real-world discounts as rewarding when they achieve in mobile games or mobile apps. It shows that nearly 50% of users would like to get, for example, loyalty points from brands when they're using their apps or when they're getting around other mobile apps. So what does it mean that? It means that there is a huge opportunity there. The huge opportunity is represented by the fact that there is an enormous mobile audience playing with game and mobile apps available for brands, and then this audience would love to engage with brands and retailers inside their favorite apps. That's exactly what Be.Into is doing. We developed a platform for marketers and for developers. Our developers, very simply, they can introduce a lot of game mechanics in the apps. So, or if you are a brand, you can gamify your mobile app, introduce points and badge and achievements, all this kind of mechanism. But the key element is the rewarding layer, which is cross-app. It means that users get credits for the activity they do in all the apps of their interest. And we have very famous games, such as Fruit Ninja on Android, the second most downloaded game on Android. So users can play these games, for example, Fruit Ninja, they get achievements, they earn credits, and they can convert these credits into real-world retailer offers, a true mobile loyalty program. So brands can leverage because their consumers and customers are playing these games, are using mobile apps, so they can reach them when they achieve. They can reach them inside their favorite apps. They can allow them to convert the time they spend over the apps into real-world benefits. And users will love that because they will not see that as advertising or marketing. They will psychologically perceive that as a reward for the time and the achievement they spent and got into their favorite apps. So we're reaching more than 80 million people already now, fourth in US, by May 200 million, thanks to the release of very famous top 10 games in the next 4 weeks. And the brands can reach all this audience by providing rewards and by allowing them to redeem the credits they get, the points they get in the games, into real-world offers, discount, coupons, loyalty point, all kind of engagement offers. So brands not only do that inside their apps, but they can reach them in a network of apps. So that's our goal, and we believe that this gamification strategy is very effective. Awesome. Perfect. Wow. That was fantastic.
Getting the CEO of a company to talk for such a short period of time feels like a real achievement.
Yeah,
and also it was very insightful, and so that I think gives us a good place to start. So I want to open up a question for you guys. So one of the survey data points that Antonio started off with was, in this research from the famous agency Saatchi & Saatchi, that consumers said that they really want to engage with brands and companies in their mobile experience. That sounds like bullshit to me. Isn't that just something that people like press the button? They say yes to that because that sounds nice? Do we actually mean that? I mean, don't you want the companies to leave you the fuck alone while you're playing Angry Birds? You don't actually want, like, really? Do you have an opinion?
Well, that's an interesting question. You know, it's you really have two kinds of audience in casual games, and we're seeing that in our test and ABB testing. You have a small percentage of users who are the hard gamers, okay? So they're crazy about the game, they spend a lot of time, and they are completely focused on the game itself. So they would like to get rewards just as levels or virtual items inside the game. They don't care at all about real-world products, okay? That's true. But actually, fortunately for us, this percentage is very small. You know, the core game audience of hard gamers who buy virtual items and buy virtual currency is less than 5% usually. Casual games such as Angry Birds or Fruit Ninja, they then have a huge, broad audience represented by people who are commuting, people who are not gamers, but they use the game to spend time. These people love this concept of getting real benefits because they're not fanatic about the games. It's just a way of entertainment for them.
Okay.
But it's huge.
Okay. So, Dean, do you agree with that assertion? You think the majority of people who play want to take time out and engage with other products and services?
Well, I've got a 15-year-old at home that's kind of a real live, ongoing project, I guess, in this whole discussion. You know, I think certainly there's space for the hardcore gamer, and they don't want to be bothered with anything. Just let me play my game and let me do my thing. But social and mobile, I mean, that's where the eyeballs and the asses are, right? So that's why brands are getting more and more excited about, you know, how can we engage with these people while they're there. And I think if the brand's got, you know, a relevant message or incentive to the gamer while they're there, then I think it's a great delivery point for them. Otherwise, I think the gamer, you know, may or may not be tuned into exactly, you know, what is being offered. So if I like skateboards, you know, and I'm playing a game and I get a message that's, you know, or an incentive, hey, here's you know, 20% off your next longboard from XYZ longboard manufacturer, then sure, that's relevant to me, so I'm excited about it. So I think there's definitely, from a targeted standpoint, I think there's a lot of room for it.
Okay, so Leo, you guys have done a lot of like market research and you work on second screen stuff. It strikes me that when we're really talking about this kind of thing, we're really talking about multitasking. We're not talking about interrupting the core experience that the user is doing, whether that's playing a game or watching a TV show. We're really talking about mobile as a multitasking second thing.
Yeah, I think so. The way I look at it might be a bit different. So I look at it like, I watch Desperate Housewives. I really don't, but my wife does. So I know she must be a certain demographic. So if I can present offers in an engaging way and actually target my wife, who's 37 years old with 3 kids, I think it becomes a much more compelling experience rather than just throwing up any ad.
Okay, so we get that. But the question is whether or not we can interrupt the core experience with the ad, with the offer or not.
I don't think you do it that way. I think the experience is completely around the show itself. And then at the end, when the show's over, tomorrow I log in and I say, okay, I picked up 500 points for playing Desperate Housewives. I'll go and redeem my 500 points for a 10% coupon for diapers. Right? Imagine if you can start tapping into Middle America where I'm watching soap operas during the day and essentially earning points for it, which results in cash using the Intu's partnership.
Okay, so if I replace the word show, though, now with the word app or game, as the case of the example that you were giving, Antonio, I mean, I'm not alone as one of those people who like the little mobile apps that appear on my, you know, when I'm using the little ads that appear on my mobile apps, I feel like I mostly click those accidentally, right? I mean, so is that what are we talking about that, or are we talking about a different kind of delivery mechanism for these offers? What are we talking about, Antonio?
Yeah, no, exactly. The mechanism is very, very different from standard mobile ads, which, as you said, a lot of click-through rate is actually accidental often because also of the small screen. The mechanism of delivery is really engaging because, well, people, they know that there is an achievement, they can see the achievements, then the achievement is unlocked. Instead of simply getting, for example, a badge, they're notified that they get a real offer. So it's a mechanism where you are part of the process. You have the incentivation and motivation to compete because you see your progress bar. 50% of the achievement is completed. You are close to get that. And not only that, but then the key idea is that you can actively look for offers. So what we provide to our developers is the opportunity to implement like a list of offers near the user. So in that case, they are not even interrupted. They go directly on a choice base.
So one of the things that you're saying, I think what you're saying, is you're saying that this has to be integrated with the actual core experience in order to be meaningful. Because everything you've talked about, it's not about an ad in any way. You're talking about things where you're sort of like injecting achievements and challenges and stuff into the core experience. Does that jive, Dean, for you with what you think has to happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the secret sauce for what they're doing. I mean, because you've got a gamer that's engaged in a game, and they reach this milestone, and it's a moment to sort of exhale and say, wow, I did something, I feel good, now I'm going to get something for doing that. And then you've basically, you've caught them at the most opportune time to market to them, because they feel good, and you're going to give them something for feeling good.
So it doesn't sound like it need be a gamer per se, right? Like, is that necessarily doesn't have to be in a game context?
No, absolutely not. I think that the hugest opportunity, the biggest opportunity actually of this kind of mechanics is outside games, actually, because you have a lot of apps in entertainment, in sport, even the brands apps, you know, brands-oriented apps, where you can really introduce this mechanism to create sustainable engagement and to transform your customer in an advocate of your brand, to let him share the rewards he gets, so creating status. So actually, this kind of game mechanics can be applied in a lot of contests, in entertainment, in brands apps, and the key concept is that all users can benefit from this cross-apps activities, you know, cross-apps profile.
Well, and maybe it's even possible that there are certain kinds of experiences that don't even make any sense without the gamification elements, right? Like, Leo, second screen type apps, do they even work at all if they don't have some kind of like reward and incentive for people to act?
Well, when we first started, we launched a project with I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. And one of the challenges when looking back and having some independent research conducted was people came back outside of the show experience and they were looking for things to do. And if a show runs once a week for 3 weeks or for a few months, what do you do for those other 6 days? How do you make it compelling? So we added some new features, and we also integrated Be-Into. So I look at it like as if I travel a lot, and I'm loyal to JetBlue. So I go into my JetBlue account and I can see, all right, I have X number of points, and where can I go for free? So it's the same concept to me. I like to watch football. I like to play I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. I like to play Desperate Housewives. And then when there's nothing going on, I log in and I say, oh, I've accumulated 10,000 points. What can I get for free? Or what can I get for 50% discount? So to me,
does that really happen?
Yeah.
So that's what you do with your spare time, is like log into JetBlue.com and like check your point balance? How long does that take? Like 1 minute? What do you do with the rest of your time?
It's not that easy, actually, because you gotta plan it a few months in advance to actually get a good deal, and
Yeah. So this earn and burn mentality, though, I think we're starting to see that that's not really what drives people's behavior, right?
No, I think a lot of it. First of all, there's two experiences we're talking about. There's a gamification layer, right? Leaderboards, me playing my friend in China, me playing you in North Carolina, me playing you in San Francisco, and talking about the Super Bowl. And hey, I know X person's going to throw, Tom Brady's going to throw for more yards than the other guy. That's fun, right? But then when that's over and no one's talking about it anymore, and no one's chatting about it, and there's no chatter feed, no moderator, what do? I have some downtime. Well, let's see what kind of rewards I get for my activity. For recruiting Antonio here and you in LA to play along with me. I basically built the experience. I was a brand ambassador for NBC or ABC, whoever it may be. So let me see what I get back in return. And then I can go and browse my offers.
Back up for 1 second.
Sure.
So what's fun about that Tom Brady example you just gave? It's the challenging other people, the taunting people. Is that something that you found in your actual research, or is that like an assumption?
No, that actually, going back to that independent research that we conducted, we used to give away cash every day. And I thought, I like cash. I'm from New York, man. Cash talks, So basically, no one cared about the cash. They just wanted to be able to say, I know more than you about this football game. And they wanted more of it. And they said, wow, I wish we could do this on an ongoing basis. I wish there were more of these experiences. So that's what we did. We listened in. That's the beauty of mobile. And then we delivered what the consumers wanted.
Do you agree with that, Antonio? People don't really want cash as an incentive?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's not the main driver, let's say. Okay, so that's why this concept of creating a gaming experience it's very successful, because basically people they like the opportunity. They like the opportunity to get status, to get recognition. I mean, just giving cash, just giving coupons, just giving offers without creating an experience around them. Well, it's not effective. I mean, there are millions of coupons out there, so so people can choose. There is a lot of competition. So how can you create a compelling experience around the concept of offer, around the concept of promotion? The answer, we believe, is strong, is by creating a gamified experience around that, by allowing people to get rewards and share that and say, hey, I'm getting an offer better than you, my friend, because I was better than you in this game. I was better than you in this app, so I have more status than you, and I can share that. So, and at that point, I will be very interested in the offer, because psychologically, it's my prize. It's the thing I deserve. So really, you can, if you work hard on these mechanics, you can really change the user behavior. You can really bring the user to do what you would like him to do. It's not a question of status and power. And this is
I have one critical insight to add there. So the other thing the independent research proved. So if I play for cash, well, great, I won cash. How do I get that cash? Maybe I have to fill something out. Maybe I have to wait. Half the time people believe it's not even going to come, right? Or maybe I'm going to get some kind of gift card or something like that. With Be-In2, you actually get it instantly. You redeem it. You buy it from within that experience. It's delivered in your inbox, and then you can go redeem it online, or you can go take it into the local store and redeem it.
That was technically a pitch for Be-In2, but you get exempted because you don't work there.
I don't work.
Turn
for
the shot
them.
collar
I
off,
work
right.
for them. But I'm telling you, it's interesting.
So Dean, these guys have set up a very and there's a little bit of conflict here, but they seem to have accepted as given that these kind of like the reward that people are after for their behavior is not tangible stuff. Do you agree with that? I
think you got to qualify that. I mean, tangible and monetary are two totally different things.
Okay.
I mean, I'm a deer hunter and a fisherman, and I love to pursue those two things. And I don't get paid for shooting a deer or catching a fish, but I get a lot of gratification and bragging rights and all that kind of stuff when I get the picture with that fish and I put it back down in the water. So that's the fulfilling piece for me. I don't need to win a bass fishing tournament to get gratification and win a pot of money. I mean, if I catch the fish that I've been after, then that's gratification enough for me. That's what I'm after.
Right.
So I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Well, no. So there's a sort of a little bit of a conflict, and Antonio's used the term real rewards a couple of times in this discussion. So what do we mean when we say real rewards? What's a real reward?
No, real rewards means something that is tangible in real life. So it could be
like a deer head
stuff,
for example.
Anything besides money, basically, right?
Yeah, exactly. So like, for example, with Dean, we're working well, providing like exclusive coupons code for retailers and famous brands. So this is an example of tangible stuff. It's not money, it's not cash, but you have, I mean, especially with targeting mechanism that we have, brands can really reach the right audience and bring them at the store. And you can think a lot of mechanisms. This is just the beginning, but for example, a very powerful thing is that also you can tell users, you get this reward, but you need to go to the store and make a check-in to get it, to unlock it.
Why would people do that?
Well, people.
So here I am. I'm playing Angry Birds. I mean, I'm walking through this whole playing Angry Birds. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Yes, I'm playing Angry Birds, and so like I'm getting these annoying offers from whatever company is going through, and then at one point, I guess one of these offers is relevant to me, right? Mm-hmm. So something strikes me because it's either an achievement that you guys have said. So some achievement, it's baked into the experience. I really like it, or I was like watching Mad Men, and I'm like playing with the Mad Men app. This was really meaningful to me. Now the company is like, cool, you're awesome, right? I guess cool, you're awesome. You can get 20% off at Banana Republic,
Yeah.
right?
For me, it's not like that.
Okay, so what's it
For
like
me,
for you?
I have a rewards button. So my experience is completely in line with what I'm watching on television. And when the experience is over, either after the show or tomorrow, I log in and I click my rewards just to see. It's like, again, to go back to the JetBlue example, just to see what my rewards pile of $2 looks like, right? And then I start to shop with it, and it's fun.
I think everybody's experience is different, though. I think for us, I mean, that's what we do. We get this reward, we can go online, we can buy whatever it is we want right then. But for other folks, part of that experience is actually the experience. And it's getting a reward to go to some place and redeem. So, you know, it's something I can see and feel and touch and smell. It might be a product that I have to do all those things to do, so I've got to actually go in and do that. And for the brand and retailer, that's magic because that's an extra trip, and that's what they're all after, getting those rear ends and eyeballs off the couch and into their store.
Yeah, I can add that. I mean, our partners, publisher, can really customize the experience they want. So, I mean, it's not important to implement the mechanics. It's not only important to have the right mechanics, it's also important to have the right design, of course. So you have to understand well what your customers are looking for. But to come back to your question, why when I'm playing, I should get relevant offers and go to the store. Basically, the main driver is the ego of people. You know, people are now discovering a new world of opportunities to get status and to share. You know, I'm good at this game. I had more retweets than you. I have more likes than you. So it's really creating a new environment where people are starting really to compete as in the real life and to get social status. So this is the driver. So if I can get a relevant offer and show to my friends that I want that because I was good and which is a very interesting product for me, I will do that because it's a matter of status. It's even more important than the reward itself, but it becomes a huge incentivation for them to purchase, really purchase.
So we've used this word a few times, and I just want to go back to this word for a second and understand it, which is relevant. So we've said relevant offer, relevant experience. So how do we figure that out? How do we know what's relevant to a user? Like, how do we figure that out?
Well, it depends upon the app or the community which the offer is presented in. Sometimes the user will actually put in information about themselves to let the app know this person, you know, likes this, this, and this. And so then
but let's say we don't have that. Okay, so like if we look at some really popular mobile apps, like really, really popular ones, and I've said it a couple of times, I'm just gonna use it again, Angry Birds. It has hundreds of millions of players. Right. I don't know that we could draw any conclusion about them that they have anything in common with each other.
Right. I think the offers that seem to do best in my world have three characteristics. One, they're super high penetration. Number two, they're super high turnover. Number three, they're what I like to call online relevant. So you wouldn't go online to buy a box of Tide or to buy toilet paper, but you would go online to buy, you know, maybe a necklace, or you would buy a pair of shoes, or maybe you'd buy, you know, a iPhone charger, you know, something that you can buy that you don't really need to see, touch, or smell or feel to buy. That's sort of what I call online relevant. And I think if they've got those three things, then they do play well.
Yeah, of course, when you have such a broad audience, like for example, the Free Ninja partner that we have, they have dozens of millions of users, so it's you don't have any kind of segmentation, right? It's not like a female app, or you have like females, you have males, you have all kind of people, all kind of education, and so on. So the key element to drive the relevancy is data, basically. What does it mean that? We analyze a lot of data about users, so we know, for example, to which offers they reacted, We analyze this data, so it's a very heuristic, empirical approach, very completely data-driven. So what we do is, I mean, the thing to do is that when there are offers, first of all, you analyze how they're performing on that particular app on a general level, on a country basis, and so you can then decide the best one. And then keeping analyzing what the user reaction is, and then you will always be able to refine always more. So for doing this kind of things, you need a lot of technology. Actually, that's why we help publishers to do that and retailers.
Okay, I mean, it sounds we're still kind of veering into kind of the like general targeting category, and it doesn't really sound like that new.
Yeah.
But I guess one of the things that I'm curious about is interesting things that we've learned about user behavior, right? So one of the things, Leo, that you said is you were surprised by how little cash was a motivator, how other things were motivating users. What are some of the other things that we know from this gamification of mobile that have been interesting, like data points about consumers that we've learned?
The most fascinating data point that we uncovered, in my opinion, was 1 in 3 people that downloaded the application actually shared it with their friends. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that their friend downloaded and played, but they felt compelled enough to share it and share the experience. And again, from my perspective, being in mobile for almost a decade now, getting someone to be an ambassador for a network or a television broadcast, I think that's really powerful, and to me that's just a viral marketing engine.
How do you get? I mean, a third share rate is awesome. How do you get a third share rate?
Honestly, I don't know, because I mean, I'd be lying to you if I told you I did. I have a hunch. You get points for sharing with your friends. So if I get 500 points to share it with everyone in this room, I'm going to do it, because essentially that makes money for me. I look at it like money. I can then take $10 off a pair of sneakers with Marketplace, and I'm going to plug Antonio again, but that's just the truth.
So are points motivational enough to get things like viral sharing to happen?
In my opinion, yeah.
You've seen that effect.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that points together with a good experience where you get feedback from your sharing, and so people do not only try to share general content in a random way, but they try also to share relevant content to their friends, and they get positive feedback. It's very important. For example, people are crazy about statistics on Twitter, about retweets or replies or feedback. That's exactly a way to try to be very popular, and so if you share good content, then people reshare your content, retweet your content, people are satisfied on a personal level. If on the top of that you also put a rewarding mechanism, a loyalty program, by which you also have the feeling that you are converting your influence score into an opportunity in real life within these mixes, it can be extremely powerful. That's what organization and companies should pursue, definitely marketers should pursue in the next year, month.
Is it sustainable? I mean, so when you hear that, they say we can use points to drive particular kind of behavior like sharing, that raises all kinds of questions, doesn't it, about sustainability, the cost of doing that over the long term? Does that work a year from now? Aren't people going to game the system? I mean, Dean, does it raise any of those concerns for you when you hear that?
I think it's very important. I think loyalty is fleeting, for starters, and I think brands and retailers have to spend a lot more time than they think they do reinforcing their brand message with their consumers. And I think if you've got an excellent platform and you've got a great experience for the user, that you've got a playing field that's tailor-made to engage with that consumer over and over and over again. And as long as you continue to provide them, number one, with the emotional piece, it's one thing to get chits or credits or whatever you want, but it's another thing to be sort of engaged and excited about what you're doing. I mean, people buy on emotion. They don't buy, on logic necessarily. So if you can tap into that, then yeah, I think you've got a great way to communicate with folks. And you just need to keep, brands and retailers need to keep reinforcing that message over and over and over again. And then as we keep doing this, and as this whole gamification thing evolves, and we start getting more and more data about you know, how people buy stuff, because demographics really don't mean anything. Demographics is just kind of, here's some data points about the person that bought from you, and that's all it really is. I mean, people buy with their wallet, you know? That people vote with their wallet, and you can have two people with the same demographic profile that do completely different things. And so as this whole thing evolves and as we get more data, we're going to be able to much better fine-tune our messaging, our segmentation, and the different types of brands and products and things that we can market to folks.
So it sounds like what you said was you need to have both a really intrinsically compelling experience plus a invested, maybe expensive loyalty program, depending on how complicated it is, in order to be able to drive that behavior.
But what's expensive? Right? I mean, what's expensive for a brand or retailer? I mean, if you look at their, you know, lifetime value of a consumer and what the acquisition cost is for that consumer, you know, expensive might not be nearly as expensive as we think it is.
Okay, and so do people do brands and retailers and publishers get that, Leo? Do they instinctively understand they need to spend money and time and effort to engage their customers, or do they think, we can make a TV show, publish a book, whatever, and if it's good, people will like it?
Yeah, not yet. That's the answer. Not yet. A few of them are. Some big brands have reached out to me recently, and they basically want to gauge the effectiveness of their television buy. Like, how effective is this Super Bowl ad that I just dropped a few $million on?
Oh, and now we care.
Yeah.
About efficacy.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, if I can give them a way to gauge how effective that ad buy is, that becomes interesting to them. And then if I can give them a way to make that advertising buy interactive and build a one-to-one relationship with the masses, it becomes really interesting. Unfortunately, you know, it's still like, you know, I used to work in the music industry. People were stuck in the old ways of doing business in the music industry as the building was imploding, right? Kind of the same thing. There's these old advertising guys that are not really getting their head around it, but when they start to think about, hey, I can basically in real time find out how effective that ad is, and then have a relationship, and I can communicate with people and find out what they thought was interesting about that ad, what they didn't think was interesting, what they like about this product, what they don't like, that becomes interesting. And then, to be honest, we did this with the Oscars. We were able to kind of work that into the whole gamification aspect. And people that played along with the Oscars remembered that Hyundai sponsored the event. 98% of them did. 3 days later, again, independent research conducted. Versus people that didn't, only 2% knew that Hyundai sponsored the event.
Yeah, I didn't remember that. Okay, so before we move on, if any of you if you have questions, be thinking about them, because soon it will be question time. So Antonio, what's the difference between, where do you see the difference between the mobile vision for gamification and the web version of it? Like, what's different between, why do we need a special approach for mobile?
I think we need a special approach for mobile because the opportunities of gamification on mobile are much bigger, from my perspective. They're much bigger because, for example, you have the location awareness. So you can introduce location game mechanics, like, for example, one thing that we do is that we can tell users, for example, go to the store and activate your coupons, right? So which is a game mechanics because you share with other friends your position, the fact that you went there, that you got this reward, and so on. So you need a special approach because the kind of interaction is different. You know, the way you use the mobile is different. The screen is different. So you must find the right way, and you must play with the concept of location.
When you say different, what do you mean?
So, for example, while I'm on desktop, I have much more time to analyze, for example. So to get inputs and to understand. While on mobile, the experience must be more instantaneous on some perspective. So on mobile, for example, I can it's not easy to, it's not immediate to share links or whatever. So I have to try to build an experience that makes easy, for example, to share content. In web, you can have widgets, for example, which are pretty straightforward to implement, while on mobile, it's better to create native apps or HTML5 apps because they can be faster and so on. So under technological point of view and the user experience point of view is very different. And on the top of that, you have some more elements like the location awareness, which can be very powerful.
Well, you have location on the web, but it's just unlikely that someone's carrying their desktop PC with them wherever they're going.
Exactly.
So what about, Dean, what do you think are the main differences for mobile? Did that encapsulate it?
I mean, it's such a tiny piece of real estate, you know, and mobile sort of is built for this ADD type life, you know, world we live in right now, because you've got to be really short, really concise, and really simple with your messaging, and get it across in a very, you know, quick manner for folks. I mean, I think that's probably the biggest thing that marketers, retailers, and brands are trying to figure out. It's like, okay,
like you can't explain a whole CRM program to a user on a mobile phone.
No, you've got this much space to do it, so you've got to get really smart about and concise about what your message is and what your value proposition is to a consumer very quick. And that's hard. I mean, that's really hard.
It is, since you brought it up, Antonio, is HTML5, does it have any effect on our, on how we're going to approach this, how we approach this problem technically?
I think HTML5 is a very interesting technology. It didn't take off yet in a fully way because, of course, with native language you can have very good performances. But a number of innovation are going on there, frameworks, new frameworks for HTML5. So it's the concept that you can create an app and it's already available for all kinds of users cross-platform is very powerful in my perspective. So I think it's going to be an interesting trend. That's why, for example, since the beginning we released the HTML5 plugin. So
because some people like HTML5.
Yeah, I think it's going to have an important role in mobile.
It just raises one more question for me, and I guess we'll talk to you about this, Leo, for a second. When we talk, I mean, we know that smartphones, we tend to think of smartphones as being, you know, ubiquitous. Everybody has one, and lots of these applications are being designed exclusively for smartphones. But if we're doing something like trying to gamify really mass market activities like television, I mean, don't we have to do some stuff that's like for the not so smartphone?
Yeah, that's a great point. So again, going back to our early days, originally we launched our first broadcast and we supported Android and iOS. And we were launching shows with an older demographic in Scotland, of all places. So, you know, and it was around politics. So think about, you know, your parents playing along on an iOS device or an Android. It's really not, you know, it's not likely. So what we did was we built an HTML5 component to our platform, and essentially you can anything with an internet connection you can play, or you can play through the app. It's the same experience. It might just look a bit different, and again, you can earn points for your play and for sharing.
Do we care about feature phones, Antonio?
Feature phone. I think that you are completely right. Of course, even if smartphones are spreading in an exponential way and tablets too, the future, I think it's in the concept of cross-device, right? So the capability for you to have smart television and smartphones and tablets all connected and all the apps available in a cross-platform way, such that you can engage with them on different devices. That's the trend we're seeing, and that's where major companies are going, for example, with the Apple TV or Google TV, so there is a huge effort in that direction. I think always more people will be able to engage with apps in all kinds of devices in a cross-device way. That's powerful. I mean, that's powerful for reaching consumers, for brands, and for reaching them.
Do you guys sell any? Does anything sell on non-iOS or Android devices, Dean?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the consumers are everywhere, so brands and retailers have to be everywhere. And you know, they've got to learn to play in all these different arenas, whether it's, you know, on a laptop, whether it's on an iPhone, whether it's on an Android, whether it's on TV, you know, whether it's at a game, whatever. I mean, it's all a part of their total marketing plan. They've got to learn that. They know that, but they've got to position their marketing message on all those different platforms and in different ways.
So once and again, if you guys have any questions, let me know. I'm watching you. How important is fun to the equation here? Like, a lot of the stuff that we're talking about doesn't necessarily seem like fun, or maybe it's only fun when it's new. How important is fun to making this stuff work? Leo, did we have?
For me, I think it's super important. You know, that's why a lot of the times we hire talent at the broadcaster or production company to actually make it interesting. Just like you're doing today, you're moderating this panel, making it interesting for viewers, consumers. We do the same thing. We hire people that are subject matter experts, whether it's reality TV or the transfer window, talking about, you know, how people trade players in European football or the NFL, whatever it may be. It's important to hire kind of a subject matter expert and create dialogue and chatter. I think that's really important. You know, you never can really predict. You can script questions, general questions, but until you hear people start talking and it's organic, you can never predict what they're going to talk about or what's going to really rise to the top. And it's important to grab a talent that can actually pool those little subject matters and create dialogue around them. And it could be brand related even. And I think that's when this gets really interesting.
Is there some kind of risk to that, like letting people talk openly in a brand or product context that people are concerned about, that gates our ability to do these more interesting gamified social things?
I think old school way of thinking, brand guys might get nervous. I have some friends that are CMOs that actually embraced it, and they've cut costs of market research and development tremendously by like 90% by taking social media input and building it into the product names, product features, whatever it may be. It's like people want to be heard, and they actually want to tell you, if they're a fan of your product, about your product. If you don't want to embrace it, shame on you. And I think, you know, over the course of the next few years, you'll see a big shift in this direction.
Antonio, do you have thoughts?
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I think that brands should not be afraid of letting people express their opinion and thoughts in their apps, of course, with moderation to avoid abuse. But I mean, if there is something wrong for a brand, it's better to know as soon as possible, you know, because then you can, you must put an effort, okay? It's not, you cannot just simply think to gamify the app and then let it there alone in the store and do not follow it. Because if people complain, for example, you must know that. You must have people able to answer and to react. So the overall social media strategy require efforts from the brands, but as Leo said, we can basically then have a lot of return in terms of cutting costs in other departments, or getting a better experience from user, or increasing their average purchase and average return from user. So I mean, it's definitely important to engage them. It's definitely important to create a dialogue constantly.
What do you think, Dean, about the question that I asked about fun and how important fun is? I mean, we know that you like kinds of fun that I probably don't enjoy, like deer hunting and fishing.
Right, okay.
So how do we deal with that in an environment where some people like to hunt deer, you know, and other people like to play Angry Birds? How do we...
Well, I mean...
How do we deal with that?
People buy for two reasons, right? They either buy to feel good or to not feel bad. You know?
Okay,
so
that's interesting.
I would much rather buy to feel good. I'm much more engaged. I have a lot more fun when I'm buying to feel good. I mean, people buy life insurance, but that's to not feel bad, right? But nobody's, you know, running across the room to go call their insurance agent to go buy some more life insurance today. But if there's something that they're engaged in, that they're having a good time in, that they can relate to, then it makes a lot more sense that building fun into that is a huge thing for people to do.
So it's potential future upside or loss avoidance that's driving people's behavior. And one of the more interesting discussions, Leo, that I've heard is one of the reasons why people watch certain kinds of TV shows and engage with certain kinds of serial or episodic content is because they don't want to be left out of the discussion at work the next day. So sometimes they don't necessarily really care about the show. They just need to make sure that they can stay up with the discussion with all of their colleagues. How much of an influence does this fear of being left behind have on the way that people engage with like gamified experiences and other
Yeah, I
apps
agree.
like that?
You know, I work in the media and entertainment world. I'm a perfect example. You know, I was talking just the other day about the #1 female tennis player in the world. We're doing a project with Pete Sampras, and now we're starting to enter into new markets, female tennis and soccer with Leo Messi and stuff. But you know, I need to stay up on that stuff. And in a world where you're just busier and busier all the time, it's so important. I think it's a great way to interact and kind of find out what, you know, what people are talking about, pop culture, and just kind of stay tapped into what's going on out there. I totally think it's important.
So I want you guys to ruminate on a question while we check with the audience to see if they've got one. Yes, hold one second. So this is a question for you guys to ruminate on here on the panel for a second, which is if you had to imagine, if you projected forward to the sort of engagement on the mobile phone over the next like 5 years, what do you think the most important thing for brands to know about that sort of trend is? What do they really need to understand about that issue in order to be successful? Yes.
So my question is, like, when is all this going to stop being like a Thanks. So my question is, like, when is all this actually going to go mainstream and like stop being kind of early stage niche? Like, for example, like there's only 76 people checked in on Foursquare this whole conference, which is like nothing. Everyone has more than 76 friends on Facebook, let alone this conference.
Yes.
And then like if you compare that to like TV, right? You know, like just the amount of money it takes to make a regular 1 hour, half-hour TV episode is probably more than all the top YouTube videos combined and all the viewers as well. So when is this actually going to actually matter, you know, in the mainstream?
Is this gamification to you?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I kind of think
sort
of
of engagement
I
stuff.
kind of think of like Foursquare as like gamification. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
So
but, like,
yeah, no, great. So the question is, when will this stuff stop being like the subject of all of these discussions? When will we just say, we get it, Antonio? When are we going to finally get it?
I think soon. I think the trend the trend is very positive. I mean, you have seen that already with, for example, with mobile games. You know, of course, it's not gamification; they're games, but many people are spending more time in playing mobile games than watching TV shows. There is a study now that shows that in the U.S., more than 25 million people spend more than 30 minutes per day on mobile games, which means the average last of a primetime TV show. So it's already a massive phenomenon. If you think 25 million people, more than 30 minutes, it's basically the audience of the prime time in US. So it's already massive. Now there is a trend to bring this kind of mechanics into other kind of apps. And I think that across the next 18 months, this will become a major trend that will get out from conferences, the ad tech, and will become a reality. But you are seeing already that. About Foursquare, the problem is that, of course, probably if you would have been here 1 year ago, there would have been much more. So there is a problem of sustainability of the engagement, which is a challenge. It's a challenge for Foursquare. It's a challenge for any app. You know, you have to create sustainable engagement, to introduce new features. But that's part of the game. You know, that's part of the.
And I'll give you a different answer, which is when a whole bunch of old people die. But in a more less flip way. You know, in just talking about this subject with a lot of people around the world and And I run this conference on gamification called G Summit, and I see lots of examples of it. And my experience has just very clearly been that the biggest delta in terms of understanding how to use new engagement science with consumers exists in the age of the person, and not in their gender, not in how many games they play, not in how much money they make, not what kind of industry they're in, but really at their core, there's some dividing line at which people are like, games are for kids, and then everybody else who's like, I think there's more to it than that. So I'm only being a little bit flip about it, but there's definitely there's an age gap there.
But kids grow up. I mean,
Yeah,
their kids are starting to grow up, and I think that's what's happening.
If I can add a thing also that I think also the brands must play a role in that. So, for example, trying to be innovative too, because I think that it's very easy for advertising budget to go to TV yet, but how many brands are really open to innovation and understand this new media? It's something that is happening, but I think that
If the money comes out of, but here's the thing, if the money comes out of the advertising budget, then it's a trial, it's a project.
Yeah.
If the money comes out of product development,
Yeah.
then it's a strategy.
Yeah.
And we're starting to see there's definitely, first of all, there's a ton of investment in gamification stuff, but there's some companies that really get that, and it's core to their design, it's core to their product roadmap, and there's other places where it's just an experiment. And I think it's natural to see that at this kind of early stage.
And I can tell you, I'm working with production companies all over the world, and what used to be, let's integrate gamification and mobile into the broadcast and the production that's already been created. Now I can see a trend upstream where people are they're actually building their budget to include mobile as an interactive component of how you actually watch television. It's now part of the show. And it actually, without giving too much away, it actually changes the results of the show. So I think it's going to get really interesting.
Oh, choose your own adventure again. Vomit. Okay, so I'm just teasing. I hate choose your own adventure TV as like at the core of my being. Are there any other questions for everyone? Because we're going to run out of time right now. Okay, great. Well, I want to thank these amazing, amazing panelists. Oh, wait, we had a question for you. Yes, what are the most important thing that brands need to know about this trend? What do they need to know about the future consumer in these trends over the next few years as a parting thought?
They need to know, they need to understand that they have to engage with them always more and exploit all the opportunities of new media. They need to have a mobile strategy. They need to have a more engaging loyalty strategy. They need to create apps and to create compelling user experience in their mobile apps. That's fundamental. It's not possible anymore for brands not to be there, and to be there with budget and with a core product strategy, and not just with trials not well structured.
Okay.
From my perspective, I think it's a race. Like, which brand's going to really embrace this? And there's no exact science to it. You have to get in. You have to dive in head first, get familiar with it, make mistakes, make changes, pivot, and figure it out. And it's going to be interesting to see who really takes the lead from the brand side.
Dean?
I mean, I just keep it real simple. Loyalty is fleeting, and brands need to constantly engage and message their consumers and their potential consumers in places where they are in ways that are fun and engaging.
Awesome. Well, thank you to the fantastic panelists. Thank you so much for your contribution. Thanks, everybody. Happy Ad Tech.
Yeah.
Woo.
Thanks.